I told her I was done and leaving. That's when the fight started. Hello everyone. It's been a while since I posted the video. Now I am back. Today we have a story where this woman called the police on her husband. Let's see how this story ended. On October 30th, I, male 39 years old, received a message from a friend about a rumor of an officer sleeping with a guy's wife in the town I lived in. I was already suspicious because she changed her phone and computer passwords, spending a lot of time locked in the bathroom, and would clear her browser history every time she got off her computer. We have been married for 15 years, but I only count 12 years since the affair started. It wasn't much to go on, but decided, what do I have to lose? So I confronted her and she confessed. She first told me he just pulled her out of the car and mistreated her. All she said she could remember was darkness and pain. I didn't believe her and told her, I heard you were given a choice, jail or bedroom activity. The next words out of her mouth was, he said no one would find out, and then ran to the bathroom. I was sitting at my desk, but we lived in a small house in an alley, and could hear her in the bathroom asking him, who did you tell? After that, she wanted to go to counseling for assault by a police officer. We could get through this and we'll work it out. I still didn't believe she was telling the truth, which led to her saying, it only happened once, it's not like I'm having a full-blown affair. So again, she's in the bathroom, and I'm standing outside the door, and I could hear her talking, and I heard her say the words clear as day, it was fun while it lasted. I flung the door open. She throws her phone down to her side and says, I was looking on Instagram. She was having an affair with this guy for 3 years. I told her I was done and leaving. That's when the fight started. She was trying to stop me from packing. She started throwing big bottles of vitamins at me. 2 of the 3 bottles hit me square in the middle of the forehead. I was bleeding and angry. I ended up smacking her, which still today I regret. But what I had just found out, I'm glad that's all I did. Then she comes at me scratching and screaming. This is something that happened to me. I try holding her back, but she falls over her computer chair and let out a horrible scream while trying to kick and grab my crotch. After she calms down, she calls the police and tells them I beat her and strangled her. They show up, I let them. They look at me, bleeding forehead and scratches on my face. They allow me to pack up some stuff and leave. I immediately called my brother and headed to another state. I was done with her. While on the drive, she wanted me to come back, but I refuse. She called the police on the 31st of October, but didn't file a protection order until November the 3rd after she knew I wasn't coming back. So I did all I could to try and find the name of this guy, but couldn't find anything. So on the 7th of November, I called the police station. They took my statement, but wanted a name. I told them I didn't have one, and how would I? It's not like I was with her when she was stopped, and said yes, sure, screw my wife, or was involved with their affair. All they did was call her, which she denied anything at all happened, and had a detective talk to the male officers. Did they think he would raise his hand and admit to it? No, looking at body cams to see if she was riding along with him or anything. It not a big department, 33 officers total, and you can take the female officers out of that. So nothing got done, but that's the police for you. On the 11th of November, I had to go before a judge and plead my case over the protection order. The judge did not grant her one, but just extended the emergency one to follow the divorce. So it will just come down to who will pay for the fees. We didn't have much money, so I had to find a job in my new state and will hopefully be filing for divorce before Christmas. I lost a brother over this since he's a retired cop. Called me a liar, asked if the guy should lose his job this, and put the stuff my soon-to-be ex-wife dropped off out on the porch for 2 days. It's a 5.5-hour drive to get back to the town it all happened in. To anyone who read and supported me, thank you. And to the people who thought I was lying, I don't care, because I was there and heard the words come out of her mouth. Thank you for taking your time to read this, and I will be looking forward to meeting someone new who will treat me with love and respect. I must be getting close to something, because on the 16th she went and said I violated the protective order. They put an arrest warrant out for me with no explanation. I have to go down and see a judge before I can find anything out. As for getting close, I contacted her ex-boss to try and find out why she was terminated, and asked if anyone from the police department has come by to see her. The next day she went to the police department. I have to take the divorce paperwork down there and file it anyway. But I can't believe they can just arrest you without even violating anything, just going by her word. A small update of the situation, since I've had people asking for an update. I recently found out my ex-wife was having her check direct deposited in another account, his or his wife or girlfriend's account, and was paying bills with the account and rent checks to the landlord. I haven't attempted to contact any of them due to the fact that the protective order basically shields me from attempting to find any of this information out, because I'm not supposed to contact anyone attached to her, which seems pretty convenient to protect him from me finding a name to give the chief and the major a name to investigate. But the funny thing is she doesn't have access to any of the money. In the warrant she stated she is trying to get divorced from me, but it's been 2 months and no attempt has been made by her to file. I had the paperwork done for a no-fault non-contested divorce, but will not be filing that. I will be filing for a fully contested divorce, so I will have a name soon. As for the arrest warrant, I have to go before a judge and bail out. Going to lay it all out for him or her and explain I was looking into our finances and was trying to find a name for the major and chief so they can continue their investigation. It will be a while before my next update. Have to save up the money for a good divorce attorney to comb through the finances, since I know where to look and who to contact. Be patient, I won't forget to update when I have more to give. Thank you all for following me along on this journey, and to all those who have given me advice and support. Edit: I wasn't supposed to have any contact with anyone associated with her, so if I called our landlord to request the checks she paid with, or even called the bank we shared an account with, or if I would have hired a private investigator, and he or she would have poked around, they would have been doing it on my behalf. So basically any way I could get information would have violated the protection order. She didn't even go to the station and file it until the 2nd of November, asking me to come back or do a long distance thing with her in between before she filed it. I supposedly beat the heck out of her on the 31st of October, so I'm sure he told her file it to protect me from finding out who he is. She's gone. I understand the need for vindication, but what is your goal outside of submitting a name of a cop to another cop for an investigation? He doesn't have solid evidence to prove something might have happened. I certainly understand his pain, but I think he's fighting a losing battle he can never really win. I can't believe I'm writing this, but here I am. My husband of 13 years had an affair for the last 2 years. I found out last week, the night before my grandmother's funeral. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought my husband would be capable of such deception. I am heartbroken. The husband of my husband's partner reached out to me on Facebook Messenger to tell me about the affair. I was 2 hours away in another state for the funeral when I got the news and did not want to confront my husband via phone or text. So I kept myself together as best as I could for the funeral, then drove home to confront him. I knew things between us weren't good. In early 2021, I noticed a shift in my husband's behavior and general attitude, which I thought was untreated depression from our beloved dog dying in July 2020. He stopped being loving and kind, and we were fighting a lot more. He did not help me around the house. He called me the C word occasionally during arguments, and in general was a black cloud in our home. I only felt relief when he was traveling for work, and I had the house to myself. I was so exasperated that I began looking into possibly leaving him around November 2021, because I was so unhappy and felt taken advantage of for all that I do in our home. We don't have children, but I work a full-time job and did 85% of the upkeep of the house, running errands, etc. When he wasn't traveling for work, his only real chore was to play with and exercise our dogs, and he did his own laundry. I washed my own laundry plus all the towels, blankets, and bedding. My husband also during this time began having bizarre physical pains and ailments. He thought he was having a heart attack and would go to the emergency room only to find out it was a panic attack. Then the pains would resurface in a different area, headaches, stomach aches, rashes, etc. Once a doctor performed tests and cleared him, the pain would go away, and a few weeks later it would pop up as something else. I told him to seek therapy for potential anxiety, depression, and possibly hypochondria. He refused and was convinced he was dying of cancer that the doctors were dismissing or not taking seriously. This became increasingly frustrating to live with and deal with on a daily basis. When the partner's husband reached out to me, I suddenly knew that all my husband's supposed illnesses and pains were likely a response to the guilt and stress he was feeling by carrying on this affair and being terrified to get caught. He carried on an affair with this woman for 2 years, having bedroom activity while on a work trip. That's what started it apparently. And then even going as far as to coordinate days off and meet at hotels to have bedroom activity. I've been told this only happened twice. Once she paid for and once my husband paid for on a credit card I don't have access to. He was communicating with this woman via a fake Facebook Messenger account. My husband doesn't have a real Facebook account. And they would send explicit photos to each other and sometimes have cyber intimacy after I went to bed early. After I confronted him about the affair, he came clean and told me he also was worried about contracting an STD and had even more medical tests that I didn't know about because he had convinced himself he didn't have an STD. We've had very little bedroom activity since 2021, and he says it's because he was afraid of giving me something. I'm not only devastated about the affair, but how he ended up treating me during the 2 years this was going on. Not only am I betrayed, but I feel taken advantage of for all the stuff I did for our home to keep it clean and nice while I still worked at my job. We actually moved states and no longer live anywhere near this woman since about May of this year, but they have been in contact since we've moved. She had a work trip to this area and they did meet in early December. My husband says she insisted on getting a hotel, but he said no and they just sat and talked in the car. I contacted the partner about this, and her story lines up with his. I am so upset and hurt. I've been crying every day and haven't been able to eat much. This morning I made an appointment next week to see a therapist, and I made an appointment for a divorce attorney consultation in the upcoming weeks. My husband says he's sorry, he'll do anything to keep me, and wants to be a better husband. He's been crying. The usual lines I'm sure many women are fed when their spouses are caught. He says I'm not to blame for any of this, but he can't give me a reason for the affair. I just don't think I can get over not only the lying and the deception, but how I was treated for almost 2 full years. I even asked him 6 months ago if he would get marriage counseling with me, and he told me to my face that I was the one who needed therapy. I have the support of my family and some close, trusted friends, but I live thousands of miles away from everyone, so I'm on my own here. We just bought our home last year when we moved, and I just do not know what getting out of this mortgage is going to cost us. Because of my grandmother's passing, I'm set to inherit around a decent chunk of money, not 6 figures, but it is slightly more than what I make in a year. In hopefully 6 to 8 weeks when the death certificates arrive and we, myself and my parents, can close out her accounts. I will not be putting this money anywhere with his name on it where he can access it. Obviously, I'm going to disclose this to the attorney I'm planning to speak with. I feel like over the last 2 years I've been whittled away, and this affair has now completely broken me. I know I can do this on my own, but I've been with this person for 15 years, the man who was supposed to be my best friend in the world. I've put my career on the back burner so that he can pursue his, and I've moved around the country for him to do this. I'm terrified of making the wrong decision, but my instinct tells me to leave this lying liar who lies. She is not doing the wrong thing by leaving him. He cheated on her for 2 years and treated her like crap the entire time. He also gaslight her into thinking she was the one with the problem and needed therapy. Not only that, but he has the audacity to cheat with someone who could have given him an STD. He risked her health and sanity and would still be doing all of this if she hadn't caught him. I would file for divorce and separate before he get the inheritance money, because he will undoubtedly try to make a go for it in the divorce.